Perfect. Okay. Lovely. Well, welcome everybody to the briefing session this afternoon on the Working Better Together programme. My name's Abby Oates, so I am the System Leadership Programme Lead. So been responsible for working with colleagues across the system to design and develop the programme that I'm going to talk to you about this afternoon. I know there's a couple of colleagues on the call who have been on our co-design group, who have been working together to get the programme to the point that it is at now, which has been really brilliant. But I can tell you a bit more about that as we go along. So, got a few slides to talk you through. Obviously, there will be opportunity to ask questions. If we could save those to the end, that would be brilliant. Just helps us to manage things a little bit. Okay. Fantastic. So yeah, here to share with you the Working Better Together programme. So new programme, new initiative for health and care in its broadest sense in Herefordshire and Worcestershire. Okay. Oh, there we go. So in terms of the purpose of the programme, so what is it that we're seeking to do? So this programme is very much about bringing people together from across different organisations and sectors within Herefordshire and Worcestershire around an issue, a challenge, an opportunity to make a change and make an improvement to something within the health and care system, ultimately to make improvements for our patients or carers or the population of Herefordshire and Worcestershire. So the formal aim is as described on your screen there. And I think one of the important things to say here is that this is an opportunity. It could be an issue or a challenge that is integrated care system wide, so across Herefordshire and Worcestershire. It could be something that is in a place, so it could be something just for Herefordshire, just for Worcestershire, or it could be something that you might want to challenge within a locality, a neighbourhood, etc. So it could be at all of those different levels, but essentially wanting to bring people together to work together on that project, on that challenge, to make improvements to the health and the care of our population. So building on that, in terms of overarching objectives of the programme, 5 key objectives linked to that. Hopefully you can still hear me. Everything's frozen. 5 key overarching objectives, which are to enhance and enable people to understand our system more effectively. So what that means, what is going on in Herefordshire and Worcestershire from a health and care perspective, to empower people to work together beyond those organisational boundaries that we know can sometimes be tricky when we don't have that kind of positional power and we're working with people with very different backgrounds and experiences. So how we can empower people to do that. Strong focus around building relationships, because we know that fundamentally that's what makes the biggest difference when we're wanting to work across a system, across different organisations, etc. Giving opportunities to share best practice, share the good news stories, achievements across different parts of the health and care system, and ultimately to help people to develop and put into practice those kind of system working behaviours. So what does it mean to work across the system versus just within your own kind of organisation? So those are kind of the core programme objectives that we have developed. I'm going to pause there for a moment because I can see I've been joined by my colleague Kim. Hi Kim. Hello. Would you like to pick up from here for a moment, or do you want me to carry on?
I'm so apologetic to everyone. It's the perils of chairing meetings and needing to get off the meeting. So sorry. I think, Abby, it sounds like you're doing an amazing job, and I can take over a bit later on if you want to.
That's
and
fine.
We can add into the questions and queries that people may have.
Fantastic.
I think just as a quick overview, I'm not sure if you've done this, but just really excited as the strategic lead for this in terms of the work that the co-design group has done around putting this piece of work together for us all as a system at local level, community, place and system. So no matter who you are, this is for you. No matter what thorny issue, wicked issue, the agenda that you've got in terms of integrated care, health and social care, this is for you. And if we want to really push that you complete an expressions of interest, so we can support you in not just even this piece of work going forward, but other leadership development offers that we have going forward. So I just want to add that little intro to everybody.
Super, thank you, Kim. Lovely, great. Okay, we'll carry on then. So in terms of, and this builds a little bit on what Kim was just saying there, in terms of kind of the key working principles that we have been working with over the last kind of 12 months that we've been working and developing this programme, but also kind of key principles that apply around this programme as a whole. Ultimately, it is about that developing effective system working and helping people to work in that more system way across Herefordshire, across and within Herefordshire and Worcestershire. Very much at the heart of it is the local design and delivery. So we've already mentioned that we've been working with people across our NHS, local authority, community and voluntary sector, experts by experience, colleagues have been involved right from the outset in terms of making this happen, because we know that is the only way that is going to work and mean something for everybody. So that very much is at the heart of this. The cohorts and the groups that we are hoping that you will express an interest in being part of are very much key is going to be that being based around a project topic, as both Kim and I have touched on already, something that people want to make a difference around, and something that is about improving the health, the care, the well-being of the people of Herefordshire and Worcestershire. Obviously, there needs to be some connections there in terms of ultimately what the strategic priorities are within the health and care system and the new integrated care system, so that it connects to that in some way. But yeah, ultimately it's about improving the health and care of people. Fundamental is that our cohorts and that our groups and our projects will be made up of people from different organisations, different sectors, different professions. Absolutely at the heart is that will include our experts by experience and people with lived experience, our clinicians. So all of these different people with different perspectives coming together to deliver, to be part of this programme. Yeah, and then last point there, for there to be a robust evaluation of what difference this has made. So we're investing this time, etc., in making this programme happen. You know, we want to really get a sense of what difference it has made, so that can then inform how we shape it and roll it out and adapt and amend it as we're moving forward. Summary there, I'm not expecting you to read that in any great depth, but summarises kind of our journey so far around this programme. So 2 years ago, which is rather scary, we were successful in getting a number of pots of funding after some successful bids for funding to work on and develop and deliver this programme. Clearly some work started prior to COVID, and then we've had a significant pause before things kind of were picked up again towards the end of last year, and the Working Better Together co-design group then were formed in January, and as we've described, have been working hard together to kind of make this happen since then. And we're now at September 2021, which, as Kim said, is really exciting, because we're now at the launch phase and the going out for expressions of interest. Hence you being here today, hopefully. Overview there of many of the partners who've been part of this discussion so far, and informed how we've shaped that programme. And we're keen and enthusiastic to broaden that out even wider. This is a programme for everybody who has any connection, interest to the health and care of the population. So we're hoping that that will continue to grow. In terms of the programme, and Kim, you're welcome to add into this in a moment. We very much see the Working Better Together programme, which is kind of this second column here, as part of a number of different offers that are being made available for Herefordshire and Worcestershire. As we're all being needing to work more in a system way, we want to put in place a range of different offers to support and enable that to happen. Clearly, there is some supports that will be put in place and is under development for at a kind of senior executive level, which is this one on the left hand side, beg your pardon. Working Better Together programme sits as another of those offers. Alongside that are things like there's work underway with different leadership leads within different organisations to develop a new leadership framework, and what offers could we offer collectively across the system as a whole, rather than the different offers that we might have as organisations now. There's support being put in place, so where we've got teams that are kind of coming together who have from different partner organisations, and they want and need some organisational development support to kind of get them to help them to move forward. That support will be made available. There's a potential pilot programme particularly focused around supporting care homes and integrated care at place, which is again under development and being explored. And then there will be other events resources that will increasingly be made available as we move forward to support us all in the different ways that we're working at system. Kim, anything you wanted to add to that?
Yes, so linked to, I guess, the reality check of just enabling people to know that this the Working Better Together programme, you can see, is the second part of a whole suite of offers. We're in our emergent development stage of this programme, and this programme will continue to be offering out more groups, more cohorts, more programmes year on year. The expressions of interest, we obviously want to have as many as possible coming in. So just because you might not be able to be successful through the panel when we get the expressions of interest through to be one of those 3 groups, it's not to say that you won't be part of us signposting you, working actively, proactively with you to link you to other development offers that are out there at system, place or local level. It is our job as a working group and as a system leadership system sort of group, well, as I said, group, to be able to link you in and support you in the development offers that might not be successful in this programme, but there might be other things that we can offer out to you. So this is why it's really important that you send us through your expressions of interest, because we can broker those conversations with other people, other funding streams and other initiatives, and not even just these ones that you see in front of you.
Lovely, thank you, Kim. Okay, so what does the programme look like? What does it involve? So this diagram seeks to kind of pictorially show you a bit what the programme, what we're anticipating and hope and planning that it will look like. So for those expressions of interest and projects that go forward to our initial cohorts, the intention will be that there'll be a launch event which will bring many of our kind of senior leaders within the system together with those project topic groups to kind of launch the programme and share more with you about what you can expect and what the system is hoping for and the support that there is within the system for the programme. That will then lead into a development centre, which will be supporting people and looking at some kind of different observed activities individuals will then be able to get some kind of tailored personalised feedback around their system working skills and behaviours and abilities and what they do really well, and what some of their development areas could be as they move through the programme. There'll then be a series over the course of 6 months, so the programme runs for a 6-month period approximately. Over the course of that, there will be 8 different workshops. The first 4 workshops are kind of pre-designed, predefined as being kind of core things that, as an effective system worker, system leader, key things that it will be helpful for you to learn about, develop, explore as part of your project topic group. So these are these 4 workshops that you can see there. So things like collaboration and influencing skills. How do you influence beyond those organisational boundaries? Key things around understanding this complex system that we all work within. And what does it mean to work in a system way? What are the skills that are maybe similar or different to the organisational way that we might be more used to working in? The final 4 workshops will then very much be informed by the cohort and the project topic groups that will be going through the programme, the outcomes of the development centre, what areas of focus might be needed or might be wanted by those groups. So we've got some examples there of what kinds of things they could be, and they will very much evolve with that project, that cohort and that project topic group, to make it really flexible, which we think is a positive. And then really key, what you can see on the left-hand side here are other key things that will be happening, another key support that will be made available during that 6-month period. Clearly, the group project work is absolutely fundamental. So we estimate that there will be about kind of 4 days worth of group project work where participants will work together on their project, develop really clearly what it is that they want to achieve, how are they going to know when they get there, etc., and then go and gather some metrics, all of those kinds of things. As well as some action learning support in your project topic groups to support you to take your project forward, overcome some of those challenges that you might be encountering as you work on those things, as well as some really exciting development opportunities, including coaching on a one-to-one basis, 360 feedback around your kind of leadership skills with a bit of a system focus, shadowing of colleagues on the programme, maybe from different sectors, shadowing of system meetings to get a sense of what's happening within Herefordshire and or Worcestershire. So lots of exciting developments alongside the kind of the half-day workshops that I've touched on. And then the programme will conclude with a half-day where the project groups will present what they have delivered and achieved as part of their project work and how they've developed through the Working Better Together programme. And that event will also be a celebration of having made it through and delivered what hopefully groups will deliver at the end of the programme. So that's a bit of an overview of the programme and what will be involved. In terms of kind of learner outcomes and what you can expect or groups can expect in terms of outcomes, very much mirror the programme objectives in terms of what those outcomes around understanding the system, being empowered, building those relationships and connections with key people across the system with similar interests, sharing our learning and developing those system working behaviours. Key kind of golden thread, we've called it, running through the whole of the programme are our system working behaviours. So as part of this work, colleagues have worked together to develop a set of behaviours that describe what it means to be an effective system worker, or to work effectively in a system way, to lead effectively in a system way within Herefordshire and Worcestershire. So there is a much more detailed framework than this that sits behind this, but the core elements that sit at the heart of it are that ability to influence, so taking steps to influence positively beyond our organisational boundaries. Something core around connecting and collaborating. I've already mentioned the kind of recognising the importance of building relationships across the system to really deliver and make a difference and achieve more together. And then thirdly, thinking differently. So looking at exploring opportunities and being creative in the solutions that we might come up with, trying something different than we've perhaps done before, and that willingness to kind of experiment, maybe take some risks and explore things differently. That's very much the kind of the system working behaviours that run as a core thread through the workshops, through the development centre, and equally through the through the skills, etc., that people will hopefully develop and then be able to implement that out there within Herefordshire and Worcestershire. So I've touched on Development Centre already, and that will comprise a series of observed activities for participants in their project topic groups. Very much will be based around those system working behaviours that I've just talked about: influencing, collaborating, connecting, thinking differently, and yeah, as I've said already, providing people with feedback on what are their strengths that they can continue to build on and really use as an asset, and how else could they develop to be even more effective. Yeah, and those will help to inform the content for those later workshops for groups. So in terms of each of the cohorts that we're looking at running, so our first cohort we are launching in December. As things stand, our intention is for the cohort to comprise 30 people, and for that to be made up of 3 different project topic groups, so 10 people. My maths works, 10 people per project topic group. Cohort to last for six months. Yeah, and as I've touched on already, those different elements will be spread across the 6 months. So the workshops, the coaching, the action learning will take place across that 6-month period for each of those groups. And then once we're doing a robust evaluation of the programme, so that is already being planned and underway, and the feedback from that evaluation will then help to inform how we shape future cohorts and how we roll that out into the future. This detailed slide essentially is saying how we're going about identifying people for that initial cohort. So we're at the advertise phase at the moment. So the email came out and other promotion started to go out at the end of last week to share with people what the programme is all about. We've got a series of these roadshows, of which this is the first one. A series of roadshows to kind of share information about the programme and to give people opportunity to ask questions of anything that's not clear, or etc. Expressions of interest are then invited for this first cohort, or for this first kind of round, by the 28th of October. So there is an expression of interest form which came out with all of the advertising materials, where either groups, so it might be that there is a group of 10 people from across sectors, across organisations, who already have a topic that they would really love to tackle together. So they could apply as to be one of the project topic groups ready-made. Equally, if you are a smaller group of people from different organisations, or even an individual who has a brilliant idea for a topic or an issue or an opportunity to really make a difference to something around the health and care of people in Herefordshire and or Worcestershire, then equally that can come in as an expression of interest. And what we would potentially be looking to do is maybe match some people together. So it might be that somebody, a couple of people from Worcestershire and some other people from Herefordshire, both have a real passion for doing something around a particular topic, I don't know, dementia, and therefore we might be able to match and group people together in that way as well. So expressions of interest can come in in one way, but from different groups. The plan then is for a multi-organisational, multi-sector panel. We'll look at all of the hopefully many expressions of interest that we receive. They will shortlist from the expression of interest forms, and shortlisted groups and projects will then be invited to present a short presentation to that same panel around their project topic and why they would like to be part of the Working Better Together programme. And then obviously the kind of successful project topics will be signposted to upcoming cohorts, and if there are expressions of interest that come in that actually might be better signposted to one of those other offers, and as Kim was saying earlier, then we will support people and direct people to different potential opportunities around that. Okay. Useful perhaps to get a sense of the criteria that we are looking at utilising in terms of project topics. So key things for each of the topics that you might put forward for this programme, the key criteria for them to meet. So top one, fairly obviously, but it needs to be clearly about improving the health and care of people in Herefordshire and or Worcestershire. Or a smaller part of Herefordshire or Worcestershire, a locality, a neighbourhood, etc. It needs to be something that requires people to work effectively across the system, beyond those organisational boundaries to explore and solve. So it can't just be an NHS issue or something the local authorities need to do or something that the voluntary and community sector wants to do. It needs to be something that is across organisational boundaries and sector boundaries. Based around, as we said before, either ICS-wide, place, so Herefordshire or Worcestershire, a locality, Redditch and Bromsgrove or wherever it might be, a neighbourhood. It could be a care pathway that wants to do some work around a particular topic. So it could be at any of those levels. I've touched already on the importance of that, whatever the topic is, having some clear link to some of those strategic priorities within the integrated care system, and I'll share a slide, and there's information in the information pack about what some of those are. Relevant across sectors and partners, I've said already, and participants for each group to be multi-sector and multi-partner, multi-organisational, and I'll share a bit of participant criteria in a moment. It doesn't already have a solution. So where this programme wouldn't be the right solution is where you already know what you want to do and you already know the answer to the problem, and there's already a decision being made. So this isn't about implementation in that sense. It's about helping develop those skills to find a solution together. Clearly important for there to be a commitment and a desire to make a difference. That enthusiasm and will make all the difference in terms of the project work and the group being effective and being a success. Willingness to share the learning, absolutely, and for there to be some senior level sponsorship in place to kind of say and endorse why this is an issue and why it's important to tackle. Example here of how the cohort could look. These are example project topics. These are not pre-selected topics in any shape or form, but to try and give you a sense of how the cohort might be made up. So we talked about the fact that there would be 30 people on a cohort and 10 participants in each of 3 project groups. So we could have a project topic, early onset dementia perhaps, there might be a project group who want to tackle that across Herefordshire and Worcestershire as a whole, and so there would be 10 participants from across those different sectors and organisations who would work together on that topic. Alongside that, there might be a topic that Herefordshire particularly want to focus on around positive ageing. So again, you would have the 10 participants from different sectors and organisations working on that. And then it might be that Redditch and Bromsgrove or Ledbury or wherever it might be want to focus on topic of loneliness. So again, they would then work together. So there There'll be some stuff that they would work together in their project topic groups together as, and some, you know, the workshops, etc., where the whole of the 30 would come together to learn and learn from each other as well. So I mentioned that I'd share with you, and this is in the programme information pack, which hopefully you've seen. These are kind of some of the key priorities across the integrated care system. And so for project topics to link to these in some way, there's some additional information in your packs as well, which might be helpful. So just to give you a sense of where you might connect those in as you're writing your expressions of interest, so you can make those connections. Then participant-wise, so some of this we've said already, but in terms of who would make a great participant in one of those project topic groups, and as Kim has said, this absolutely is you, and absolutely is colleagues, and could be anybody across the system who you know, who meets these kind of criteria, I guess. Fundamentally, yeah, working in some way within health and care in Herefordshire and Worcestershire. Including experts by experience, so those with lived experience within that. Clearly have an interest in the project topic and why they want to be part of it. Willingness to learn and work differently and have a go at solving some tricky challenges. Are able to make the programme dates if, you know, so we've got dates for the first cohort. The plan is that we will be identifying groups for future cohorts as well through this process, and obviously there aren't dates at this point for those, but once those are identified, then people need to be available for them and come to those. Yeah, commitment to participating in the project work and the other aspects of the programme. And yeah, that willingness, commitment, desire to make a difference and to share learning sits at the heart of that as well. And as I've touched on already, groups to be multi-sector, multi-organisational, and include clinicians and those with lived experience within each project topic group as well, so that it has that broad range. Just to give you a sense, I think I've touched on this again already, in terms of the panel who will then consider the expressions of interest. There will be a balance within there in terms of both representation from Herefordshire and Worcestershire, from across sectors and organisations, including those with lived experience, experts by experience, and a mixture of clinical, non-clinical, etc., including some members of the Working Better Together co-design group who've been on this journey since the beginning. And everybody's voice to be equal within that panel, so that we really get a rich discussion and some agreement around the projects that we kick off with. First cohort dates are there for you, and again are in your packs, and very much follow that format that I described and was in the diagram earlier. So looking to launch on the 6th of December, running through to July of next year, with workshops and those learning circles, those action learning sets, in other words, built in within them as well. And yeah, that's finally a bit of a timeline in terms of where we go from here. So we're at this advertising of programme point now. So expressions of interest to come in for the 28th of October. We've then got panel meeting twice during November. So as I touched on earlier, the written expressions of interest will be shortlisted in that first week in November, and there will be a panel will meet and see presentations from those shortlisted groups in mid-November time, with a view to starting the first cohort on the 6th of December. And that kind of is just some contact details, which again are in your packs if you after today. So I'm going to come and offer out for opportunity for questions in a moment, but details are on there as well if useful, and you have any other questions or would like any other information. So on that note, I'm going to take a swig of water. Kim, is there anything that you would like to add before I open out to questions?
No, I think we need to use the time to get some questions, queries from our colleagues and any ideas.
Lovely. So, questions. Is there anything anybody would like to ask that isn't clear or not?
I think one of the things, just quickly, Brett, sorry, now you reminded me, is that we've got some really valuable representation, not just on our co-design group, but we've got SAS here as well, just to really add the importance of having the patient, the service user, expert by experience at the very heart of the work. So whenever we're thinking about an evidence-based thorny issue, wicked issue that's aligned to some of the health inequalities ideas that are linked to, you know, ICS, not just ICS general big, but localized issues, then having the patient, having the service user at the heart of it is really important. The aim is to have that multi-professional, multidisciplinary project group that works together.
Thank you.
There's one thing that I learnt on a project that I was doing with Jane, as far as the lived experience is concerned, and the input of that. Well, it was the neuropanel, actually, a further thing, but it's is that when we get the lived experience involved, we have to do it at such a point that that person, are at the stage that we are ready to do exactly what we're saying now. We're ready to make things better. We're ready to make a difference. And it's only about that. It's not the stage where it's, woe is me, this has gone wrong, this has happened, and we have the wrong input. And it's finding that balance. And when we were putting the neuro panel together at the first stage, and we've learned a lot of lessons from that, we brought some people on board at the wrong stage, and that's how we learnt that lesson. So we just have to keep that in mind as well.
Really good point. And I think the discussions that we've had with our provider, Delve, they've got a wealth and breadth and depth of experience in working with experts by experience around these kinds of collaborative development, you know, leadership programs, because everyone will come in at a different stage, won't they?
Yes.
And sometimes that whole Johari's window and that self-awareness for me is really important. So we want to take the masks off.
Yeah.
We want to take the hierarchy off. This is, you know, coming up with working ground rules, you know, ways in which we want to agree to work together collaboratively. And I think that's a really important part to build the trust with the group, that everyone feels that it's a trusting environment in which to go into that group and think, well, where am I? Where's my voice? And so the coaching facilitative approach that we've really wanted to embed within securing Delve has been really, really important for us in that it's not the what, it's the how, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there will be checkpoints. And so I think that's why it's also important that the development centre is there for the experts by experience that are part of the project group, that you feel you've got a confidential space, you've got a confidential place in which you can really assess yourself, feel confident, feel empowered, but also have access to, you know, some tools to enable you to see that your lived experience is a talent. It's an expertise. That's why you are experts by experience. And your voice is just as important.
Thank you, Kim. Yes, and thank you for that. And it is at the right stage, isn't it? But if we get those people too early, they haven't quite arrived at that, and that they might be the perfect person 2 years down the line, but they're still at the stage where they're just looking at all the things they haven't got, all the things they can't do, all the things that went wrong, and potentially just complaining about everything. And I'm making that sound worse than it is. But that was the thing that we really learned, and it fell apart, basically, the neuropanel. And then we've picked up the pieces, started again with what we learned. So it is identifying the stage that people are at and not putting them in that position. And yes, and as you say, Delve have got that experience, and I've learned a lot from that now and identify. So together, we just have to make sure that, yes, when we say lived experience, it's the people at the right time. And that's not saying that they're not the right people further down the line, and we can still hear what they are saying, and we must still include everything that they're saying and try and make those changes, but potentially it's not the place for them yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you, Sass. Brett, can I come to you? You've got a question.
Yeah, sure. I've got a program in mind that we're just standing up at the moment, and will sort of grow over the next couple of months, and I think really benefit from this. But I just want to sort of get my head around whether the scope and timings align with this program, or whether it's just not going to work. Are you right if I just flick up a slide, because it'll make far more sense? Oh, actually, I don't think I've got right.
Oh, you know, hold on. Let me.
I was going to say it make far more sense to me waffling on. You think I don't really get what you're saying. I can show you a diagram. It'd be easier.
Let me see if I can.
If not, don't worry. I'll talk you through it.
Yeah. Maybe start talking, and I'll see if I can find so you can share.
Yeah, no problem. So the program I've got in mind is digital inclusion, and it's going to be across the ICS. Sort of, again, without the governance structure to sort of walk you through, the idea is we're going to have a digital inclusion forum set up next week, actually, that includes all the partners, including VCS, on the table to oversee a number of pieces of work that tackle challenges such as increasing people's digital literacy, increasing broadband availability, access to devices, financial challenges and other deprivation challenges. So a whole broad range of things. And that Digital Inclusion Forum will have about 12 people or so on it. So sort of fits that criteria of the 10. Where I'm not sure is whether that group would be the one that goes through the programme. My gut feeling is that it would, and they benefit from it. However, the challenge is it's not necessarily that group that are going to deliver the interventions. The idea is to have almost like task and finish groups specific to a particular challenge in a particular community. So it might be, let's say, for example, Worcestershire County Council are planning to do a device loan scheme from libraries in the coming months. So the libraries that will deliver that, it will just be in certain communities, and there'll be only certain cohorts of citizens that might be eligible for those devices. But the intervention will probably be coordinated and delivered by, I'd estimate, 3 or 4 people. Again, still cross-organisational, but it then doesn't hit that 10 number that you're after. So yeah, I'm just trying to work out who this program might be beneficial for, whether it is that sort of digital inclusion forum with more strategic leaders from organisations, or the more operational side. And then equally with the scope of the program, because it is so broad and there could be so many challenges that we tackle, whether it's better to focus on a small individual challenge somewhere and build a project team around that then goes through this program. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And I suppose my initial reaction is it could be either, in terms of that kind of more strategic or the kind of the implementation. I guess the timing might be different, from your project point of view. And there will clearly be something about it being kind of focused on something specific, and that as part of the kind of the initial part of the program, the group would be helped to really kind of define what that might be. Tim, Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think it depends on what you scope out. It might be useful for you to feed this roadshow back to your group, just to test out. It depends on what the is it really tackling the thorny issue, and we probably haven't discussed this actually, which is really useful. Is it to really tackle the thorny issue? But then sometimes we know what the thorny issue is, but it's bringing the group of people together to tackle the thorny issue that's the issue. Do you get me?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because my experience of this work is for years, many years, in the Total Place. Someone been around years ago, yes, Carol. Total Place, we knew what the issues were, but it was bringing these people together in a room to really start to unveil, the masks and the hierarchy, and really get people involved in thinking differently. That was the issue. So, I'm going to leave that with you. Because maybe there might be another offer or down the line, as we've said in the offer. The more we can get from you in terms of intel, the more what we can do is also broker your issues back up through the system. Because what we want to do is we're going to report on the depth and breadth of expressions of interest that we've got across system, place, local, to go back up to the ICS, to go to Hereford One Partnership, to go to Worcestershire Partnership, and to say, these are the things that they're saying. So we want to act as your kind of broker champions, really, to kind of advocate those issues. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That's really useful. I think the thing that I think that would benefit from most is exactly what you say, is that and developing the working relationships, and certainly from other ICS programs I'm involved in where there is all the partners around the table. Because of pure numbers, I think quite often the NHS dominates those boards and conversations. And I'm really keen for this programme that doesn't happen. But equally, I don't think the councils are quite found their feet and found their voices, as you've mentioned, to have an equal input into these kind of conversations, but also steer in the direction of the programme as well. So, as I say, with the Digital Inclusion Forum, I think there's an opportunity for that group to really build those relationships and work out how to work together. But they might not necessarily be the ones delivering the project or the intervention or tackling the thorny issue directly, but they certainly have oversight of that. So yeah, I'll send some information on it over to you anyway, and you can have a look and see what you think. And
Lovely.
go from there.
Thank you. Carol, did you want to add to that discussion before I go to Kate and Lisa? Oh, we can't hear you, Carol. I think you're on mute.
The mute buttons are in all different places on it. Yeah. My first thought is, I guess for Brett is, will this happen even if the programme isn't involved? Because I think that's quite an interesting question to ask yourself. The other bit I would feed back is, I've just been thinking back for the sort of last 18 months and through. I know we've managed to not mention the pandemic, but I think it is important because whilst it was horrible, there was some really good learning coming out from it. And one of my main pieces of learning was getting people together to say, okay, what's our big issue at the moment that we need to solve? And having the conversation around the issue, building those relationships, and then working out what you can do together to tackle it. And that feels to me like really the model that we're trying to promote here across organisational boundaries, helping people understand what resources other people have got, how they work, why things can and can't happen. And that seems to me to be the real positive. And at the end of it, you've got hopefully a solution. And if you haven't got a solution, at least you've got people who better understand what each other do and who they are and who you can pick up the phone to. So to me, this is, I know you started this process pre-COVID, but I think we've tested it over the last 18 months and it does work. Yeah. This is a real opportunity to not lose any of those gains and those relationships that we had, and to take them forward to bigger and better things. So I think talk really, isn't it, about why this is the right approach. And I would say that includes I'm really here from the voluntary and community sector point of view, and that's one of the things that we found. I think the challenge some of my voluntary and community sector colleagues are going to come back with is, great, there's opportunities for development here, but who's going to be doing their jobs while they're doing this? And is there any resource to back this up? So I think that's something to take away, because it's a tricky one, you know. But it's a really hard one, I think, particularly for very small organisations.
Yeah.
If you've got 2 or 3 people and you look at the time commitment for this, they might really want to be involved, but actually that's really hard, because who's doing the rest of it? So that's, I think, something to put up there on the table as a question that we might be asked in the future, and it would be good to have some sort of answer to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, that's really helpful. Thank you. Thank you, Carol. Kate, can I come to you next? Oh, no.
There we go. Trying to find my mute as well. Just a couple of very practical questions. I was just thinking what questions I might get from colleagues. And one was just sort of time commitment over the 6 months, and just understanding what that might look like. Obviously, they've got the workshops built in, but is there specific time commitment around that, or will that be up to the project groups to manage, and how will that work?
Yeah, so so you're right. There's the kind of the 8 half-day workshops, so 4 days worth of workshops across the 6 months, plus the launch event, kind of half day, probably just short of half a day, development centre half a day, and celebration event half a day. So that's kind of the core content, and those are the dates, certainly for the first cohort, that are in the program information pack. Alongside that, I guess there's the project work, and we've estimated about 4 days of project work to be not necessarily done in chunks of days. You know, that would be for the project group to kind of work that between themselves in terms of how that will best work for them and the topic of the project that they've got. But we've estimated that would be 4 days over the course of the 6 months. There would then be access to other development support, which again would be on for them to kind of agree. So one-to-one coaching, for example, there isn't a set day, you will do it on that day. That would be negotiated between you and your coach, or the same for the 360. The action learning would be on set days, which again is in the pack as part of that programme. So there's 2 action learning half days that are built in as part of that.
And then just quickly, you mentioned a lead sponsor.
Yeah.
Can we just define that a little bit more? What did you mean by lead sponsor? Yeah.
Good question. Good question. Yeah, so we've described it as senior level sponsor, and we probably haven't been any more specific than that. In the same way as for the programme, we haven't said it has to be a particular, you know, level of leader or what have you. So somebody within the system who is at a kind of more senior level that is kind of supportive of the programme. So we haven't said it has to be somebody who sits on the ICS executive or what have you, but somebody at a senior level within an organisation in the system. This is my interpretation, Kim, you can add to it, but who is endorsing that as an issue that needs tackling. Kim.
So as an example, if you were someone that wanted to develop a more integrated plan around community pharmacy in terms of self-care, then you might, depending on who your lead was within your trust, organisation, system, you might ask them to be the sponsor, because there's going to be outputs and outcomes where the project realisation won't be just with what happens with that group that produces, you know, some great stuff. There'll also be the thing about what's next steps for sustainability, impact, leadership, what next. So we've wanted to kind of put that in as a really clever way of making sure that there's accountability and responsibility, because the issue we always face around system leadership is accountability and responsibility, isn't it, as well?
And it might be somebody who can help to, if the group is encountering some tricky challenges, they can help to unlock that or broker some conversations in the right place. Does that help?
That's great. Thank you.
Super. Thank you, Kate. Lisa, you've been waiting very patiently.
Oh, that's quite all right. I'm just trying to, I understand everything you've said. It's the role of somebody expressing an interest as an individual. Will they be disadvantaged as a one, and would you consider if their initial expression of interest and the area they wish to look at did not fit with anything else, that you would actually offer them opportunities to join another project that's been put forward? Do you understand what I'm asking? Yeah.
I think so, and if our answers don't answer that, then let us know. So our intention is absolutely that, and you know, just because an individual is putting forward a really fantastic project topic, that would be considered, and that it would be considered at exactly the same level as you know, if a group comes forward with something. So we said that the intention would be to seek to match people together, because there could be people who've got similar interests. I guess there could be a scenario where there's a project topic that would be absolutely amazing, but there isn't. It doesn't kind of sit neatly with other expressions of interest. So you know, I guess that's something that we would need to look at, and whether then that gets put for a later cohort if it's chosen as a project topic, and then there might be some recruitment that is done with that project lead to then pull together a group. But it probably wouldn't you know, fit with the December cohort, for example, but it would, you know, fit neatly with latter cohorts.
That's good. Yeah,
Mm.
that's what I was going to say, in that if you did have an idea as an individual, there is that fallback that you're going to be a rolling programme and there'll be further cohorts.
Yeah.
And almost part of you says sit back and wait and watch and see. I think, just to put it out there, it's an exceptional bit of work. It's very impressive. I think the opportunities that people can have within healthcare across the organisations, across the teams, is phenomenal from this. And I hope you get the engagement and people signing up for it, because it's very impressive.
Lovely, thank you for that feedback, Lisa. Brilliant. We look forward to
I've got to go, guys, because I've got to be at yet another meeting, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's fine. Look,
Is that
thank you.
okay?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think we're drawing, unless there's any other questions, we're drawing to a natural conclusion. But thank you for coming. Thank you for coming along, and for your questions and what have you. And look forward to expressions of interest rolling in.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Abby. Thanks, Kim.
Take care.
Bye,
Thank you
everyone.
so much, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Well,
Bye.
bye.